Hey guys, what's up? My name is Annie, and today I want to talk about Wizards of Waverly Place. So, like everybody else, when Disney Plus came out, I wanted to rewatch all my favorite shows, and Wizards of Waverly Place was one of the top ones that I wanted to watch. So, in my rewatching, I realized most of what happens does not make any sense. Like, none at all. And I've now opened a can of worms that I will never be able to close. And I'll think about these things constantly because I'm never going to get an answer. Since I know that I'm not going to get any real answers, I thought I would just put the things that didn't make sense out there into the world. The main premise of the show is that Alex, Justin, and Max are competing to be their family wizard. So we see them get into magical hijinks every episode, and they are also doing their wizard lessons. So the hijinks are usually related to their wizard lessons. So let's just start with the wizard competition. It makes no sense. So first of all, the competition is so unfair. Max really has no chance. He is 4 years younger than Justin. Not only is Justin 4 years ahead of him studies-wise, but also just wouldn't you be mad? I'm a youngest child. I would just be mad. What if they had pulled a good luck Charlie? What if they have a baby when they already have a 17 and 16-year-old? Then what happens? Does Justin then get to just keep his powers until he's 30 and that kid is ready to take the wizard competition? Who set up these rules? What happens in literally any other family situation other than the one that the Russos have? If your kid, your oldest, then would be allowed to keep their powers until they're 30, wouldn't that be the way to do it? Wouldn't wizard families try to then have kids really spaced out? Or why even try to have more than one kid? Obviously that's not always possible, but why wouldn't they just try to have one kid so that that kid could inherit the family wizard title? I just don't understand. What happens in families with half-siblings? Say Jerry and Teresa get divorced, and then Jerry goes and has 2 other kids. What happens then? Are they a different wizard competition, or no, because it's the family wizard and they're all wizards through Jerry? You know what, I'm not even going to bring step-siblings into this because that feels too complicated. And you know what? This competition would do nothing but breed resentment and hatred throughout your whole lives. If you grow up knowing that you're gonna compete with one another for actual magic powers, you wouldn't be friends. You wouldn't like each other. Alex, Justin, and Max help each other out all the time. You would not do that in a real scenario of this. You would tell them the wrong things. You would not want to help them out. Which I guess they do show this a little bit with Jerry, Kelbo, and Megan. They show that they did have some resentment, but that didn't come until after the wizard competition, when Jerry decides to give his powers to Kelbo instead of to Megan. Which, let's talk about them, the older Russo siblings, for a second. So, in season 2, there's an episode called Retest. Kelbo shows up and he's like, oh, I got this letter, and says we're supposed to retake the wizard test. And so they need to get their sister Megan to come back to take it with them, but she doesn't talk to either of them anymore because of the whole Jerry gave his powers to Kelbo and not to Megan. Which, she's right. I'd be pissed. Like, she is justified in being mad at them. Basically, she doesn't show up, and the wizard, like, auditor or something shows up, and he goes to take the Russo family power cells, which means none of them would have magic. First of all, how does that work for, like, Jerry's parents? They're still alive. Like, wouldn't his parents still have powers? Or they're old, so we don't care about them? But then the auditor decides that he likes them, so he'll let them keep their powers. I don't think he has the authority to do that. Shouldn't, like, Professor Crumbs or the wizard cops, like, be on top of that? But it never comes up again, so I guess not. Speaking of retest, in that episode, when they know that they're gonna lose their powers, Alex, Justin, and Max all, like, band together, and they're like, we're never gonna be like Dad Kelbo and Megan, like, we're gonna stick together, magic or no magic, we're gonna be fine. Okay, so yeah, lesson learned, great. But then in the finale, they have to relearn this lesson. Like, as a part of their wizard competition, they make it that they lose their powers temporarily, and in that time, Justin and Max turn on Alex, and then when they finally forgive her, they're all allowed back into the competition. Like, how does that make sense? Why did they have to learn that lesson twice? I just don't understand. Back to the competition breeding resentment. This is also seen with Stevie and her brother Warren. She's also like a troublemaker with magic, like Alex. And in one episode, she's like all upset about missing her brother. So Alex is like, oh, great. I'll go find her brother and bring him to her to be a nice friend. But then they go find her brother and find out that Stevie ran away from their wizard competition. So she lost, and instead of giving up her powers, she runs away. Again, shouldn't Professor Crumbs or the wizard cops be on top of that? It's not like Stevie wasn't using magic in the time when she ran away. And she also wasn't, like, not going to the wizard world. Her and Alex went to the wizard world together. Like, how was she able to just easily run away from her wizard competition and then they couldn't find her? Like, and my second point with Stevie is that in her episode, so Justin labels her as evil. He's like, she has an evil scheme. But Stevie is right. Like, so she runs away from her competition because she thinks it's unfair that only one of them gets to be the family wizard, which it is. So Stevie gets in contact with other wizard kids all around the world, and she has 5,000 of them backing her up, and they all think this is unfair. And so she devises a plan that they'll all cast a spell at the same time to destroy the transfer of powers room. And the last two people she needs are going to be Alex and Max. And then Alex and Max turn on her in the last second. But why did just these two people not doing the spell make it not work? That doesn't make sense to me. And also, if 5,000 young wizards think that it's unfair that only one gets to keep their powers, don't you think that maybe, just maybe, like, I might be crazy here, Justin would call me evil, but don't you think they should reform that system? Like, I just don't understand. Back to the wizard competition and how it makes no sense. Why isn't there a structure to when it happens? Like, Stevie and Warren are Justin and Alex's age, but they've already taken their test. Is it just because they also have Max, so they need Max to be to a certain level before they can take it? And why? Also, in the finale, they make it seem like the day of the competition is a random thing. Professor Crumbs just shows up and says, Alex, you did a selfless deed by making your family dinner without using magic. You guys are all ready for your competition. That was the last thing you needed. And they were all surprised, and they didn't know that that was when their competition was going to be. But earlier in the season, specifically in the episode 3 Maxes and a Little Lady, so in that episode, Max goes to change their wizard competition date up. He moves it up to that next Wednesday because he, at this point in the series, is so far ahead of Justin and Alex because they got demoted for dumb reason. So he goes to change the date. So in that episode, the wizard lady who's like in charge of the competition dates, I don't know what she actually, like, her official title was, but she says, I don't know what's happening, but the original Russo family competition date stands. That was a direct quote, okay? So there is an official date, like there is a designated time for them to be taking it. But then there's just not by the time the finale comes. And it's also not even like it's like, oh, when the first child turns 18, or oh, when the middle child turns 18. Like, there's just no semblance of order to it. It makes no sense. Moving on from the wizard competition. Are the Russos the rule or the exception? So, Jerry becomes the family wizard, but then he decides to give up his powers for love, for Teresa. Now my question here is, are his children now wizards just because he was his family's family wizard? Or if you were ever a wizard in your life, can you have wizard children? Because if you can have wizard children, why can't everyone just stay a wizard? Like, you already have the knowledge of the wizarding world, and you have to teach your children magic, but you yourself can't do magic? That doesn't make sense. Which, moving off that, on the note of giving up powers for love, why would you even go on dates with mortals if you know that you would have to give up your powers for love? And back to, are they the rule or the exception? If you are two wizard teenagers and you're dating, and one of you wins your family competition and one of you loses, do you then have to give up your powers to be with your now mortal girlfriend? Or can you still just be together and one of you is allowed to stay a wizard and the other one's not? Because you already have the knowledge of the wizard world. Some other just random things that don't make sense. Time travel exists. They use it once. It never comes back up. Why does Jerry get to keep the lair? Shouldn't Kelbo get the lair when he became the family wizard? Or no, because they knew Jerry would have magical kids? Like, although they do show in one of the episodes that they can't move a lair, like wizard families only get one lair and it can't be moved, which is dumb, because what if you want to move? Like, nobody, like, people don't live in their childhood homes forever. Like, there's an episode where the Russos might get evicted and they're freaking out because they might lose their lair. Like, what? Why can't the lairs be moved? That's dumb. The fact that Alex and Mason couldn't keep dating if Alex didn't win her family competition, like, why are the wizards in charge of the werewolves? they don't let them keep dating because the werewolf always eats the human. Why are they in charge of that? Like, I guess there should be laws against werewolves eating humans, but like, that just doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. She already knows that they exist, like, you know? Mason and Juliet both are hundreds of years old. Juliet's thousands of years old. Are werewolves just immortal in this world? I guess. But also, in the last episode, Professor Crumbs is stated to be like 3,000. So I guess technically Justin can be with Juliet forever. At some point he'll just start to look old. Like, what is that? I know it's not that deep, and I know it's a kid's show, and that I'm not meant to be asking these deeper questions, but I can't help it. So thank you for watching my first ever YouTube video. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you want to see more of me. So